In today's episode of On the Daily, I'm going to talk about money scarcity and money abundance, money power, money frequency. So the kind of the difference between having scarcity with money and being in the money frequency, because there is a difference, obviously. And I think if you're in scarcity with money, the decisions you make will reflect that. And I just want to talk about that today, especially coming off of the episode we had on Tuesday with Abel. And considering I have a masterclass coming out about this in a week, I figured now would be a great time to talk about it. So if you feel like you're in a weird place with money and all you want is to wake up and see peace or feel peace while looking at your bank account, then this episode's for you. Hey friend, welcome to On the Daily. I'm your host, Danielle McCleary, and I am a quantum business coach. I'm the host of this podcast. I'm a multi-six-figure entrepreneur, co-founder and president of Hype You Media, and CEO of Danielle on the Daily Coaching. What I'm really interested in is helping you live a life and have a business that is a full body yes. So through all of my education and all of my experience, I'm bringing you 2 episodes a week where I will guide you and give you the tools necessary to scale a massive, sustainable, and sexy business using your intuition, wealth energetics, and human design. What we can call it is business biohacking. So if you're down for that, then I say let's frickin' go. I'm so glad you're here. Scarcity with money. This is something that is so common for so many people. And I feel like when we have scarcity with money, we tend to feel like we're alone on an island and nobody else understands us. And that's not true. I think it really depends on the relationship that you have with money currently. But also it's the relationship that you were programmed and conditioned to have with money. So I talk a lot about being in a wealth frequency, right? If you're in the money frequency, if you're in the wealth frequency, this looks different for everyone. And so I want you to not, your situation is going to be totally and unique and different to anyone else's, but everybody kind of goes through similar things. So an example of if you're in a scarcity with money, that's going to affect the decisions that you make. It's going to affect your ability to see the big picture because you're going to just be focused on what's right in front of you because you're going to be in so much fear that, and fear turns into desperation. So you'll find yourself saying yes to opportunities that don't feel good to you or that directly hurt other people or that let people down or that let yourself down. And it will be justified in your ego as, well, this is what I have to do in order to get ahead. And I used to be like this, so I definitely know what this feels like, and it doesn't have to be that way. And when I learned that, it actually became easier to make money. When I was stuck in that scarcity place with money, feeling like I had to say yes to everything and I had to throw out my values and my ambitions and my goals and my priorities because I had to make money and I had to get ahead, I found myself on this hamster wheel of never having enough or having a lot, spending it all, it going away, feeling like I was useless, and then on the cycle went. And I feel like that was the loop and the pattern that I was caught in for a really long time. So if you are currently caught in that kind of loop with money, I want you to ask yourself, is your worth right now determined by what's in your bank account? Is your decision-making process determined by what's in your bank account? Because if that is true, you are doing yourself a disservice by not healing that. Wealth frequency, money frequency, abundance when it comes to money operates on the same frequency level as gratitude, love, and joy. And if you're not practicing joy, love, abundance, gratitude in your current reality, there is going to be no way that you can call in more of something at a higher frequency. So if you're stuck in fear and scarcity with money, if you're like, all I want is to be abundant, all I want is to make money, and all I want is for money to be easy for me, that's what I want, that's where I'm going. But right now, I have to bend my boundaries. I have to break promises that I make to myself and others. I have to directly hurt people that I care about. I have to throw my moral compass out the window. That's the opposite of getting yourself into the frequency where money comes to you easily, because money is an energy and it comes to you at the frequency that you operate in. And the only way that you're going to call in more abundance is if you're doing things in your current reality that put you in that frequency. So yes, I'm not saying don't have goals. I'm not saying don't know that you're made for more. And are you practicing that gratitude in this moment? Or are you making decisions from a place of scarcity? And this goes even I have clients that will work with, they have their own clients and are charging way less than what they're worth. And they feel like if they raise certain clients' prices that they'll lose them. And that puts them into this paralyzed state of fear. And what I always try to explain to them is listen, if you are keeping clients on that pay you too little and you've never stood up to them and said look, the price went up, then you are keeping yourself in this fear, in this scarcity frequency, which is the opposite. And it's far lower than the frequency you will need to be at in order to attract all things good and all things that you want. And so it's how can you practice these how can you practice wealth frequency in your current reality, right? Sure, you may not be able to just shop at Whole Foods whenever you want and not look at price tags. You may not be able to fly first class. You may not be able to do these things that you hope to do someday. And is there a way that you can honor your values and your morals and your priorities today that sets you up for success later on, right? And then I say this to people, and then some people go, yeah, but then how do I make money? And it's well, you may have to keep a job until you're able to release that job to continue working your business. That's a possibility. You also may have to make difficult decisions in terms of budget for a while. And can you put yourself in a wealth frequency at every stage of your life? Because the money frequency it doesn't have pressure, right? I used to make so many decisions for my business and so many decisions in relationships, and those decisions would cause me so much pressure. And then I would find myself almost spiraling, or when one thing would go bad, it would be this snowball effect and then everything would go wrong. And what I'm realizing now is I was learning some really hard lessons at the time. And the way that, Daddy Universe works is you are going to be shown the same thing over and over and over again. You're going to have to learn the same lesson over and over and over again until you finally get it. And when you finally get it, that's when you can actually leave it in the past. And so I want you to really kind of think about the relationship you have with money right now, because it's one thing to say that I'm calling in abundance and I'm calling in wealth and I'm calling in all these things. But on the other hand, you are afraid to look at your bank account. You avoid having to do taxes. You avoid having to have tough conversations around money. You avoid raising your prices. You don't hire mentorship, right? You're not investing in yourself. Those are all signs that you're actually living in a very big state of fear and scarcity and lack. And lack is not the frequency of wealth and abundance and joy and love. And so check in a little bit with your money story. Check in with any saboteurs that you have with money. I used to be, and one of my saboteurs was the overcompensator, right? I grew up as the child and the dependent. My dad paid for everything. He was, my dad was very wealthy and he took care of me. And sure, I had to work and I had to get good grades, and I did. I got very good grades. I was always a straight A student. I, had a job at 16. I was by no means, a little princess that didn't have to do anything. That was not it. But my dad did have a lot of wealth and he was really smart with his money. But I always knew that he was there to take care of me. And so when I started making my own money, it was almost like my ego was see, I could do it myself. So then I was spending so much money. We'd go out to dinner and I would just buy everybody at the table dinner, even though I didn't need to do that. Sometimes I wanted to do that, but I always felt like I needed to do it to prove myself. And it's if on one hand, those are the decisions I'm making, but I'm oh, I'm, going to be financially free and I'm going to be able to, have abundance and all this stuff. Those are two very different frequencies. My actions are operating in one frequency and my conscious mind is in another frequency. Well, guess what the universe hears? Universe hears your actions. It hears how you think most. And if you're acting in a certain way, then that's what your subconscious is thinking most of the time. And that is what the universe is going to hear. Universe is not good or bad. It doesn't actually have it has no, it doesn't really care if it's good or bad. It just takes information. So what I had to learn was how to have discernment with my money, and how, like, even though I was like a fly by the seat of my pants girl, which, like, that's still part of who I am. And it's a charming, I do believe it's part of my charm, and it's part of why I'm so successful, because I do take risks. And there is a part of me that now knows how good it is to have a plan, how good it is to have structure, how good it is to, be okay with a system and being really grateful for that system. And so that frequency of gratitude is what, if I'm in that frequency in my current reality, then I'm showing the universe, God, source, whatever, that I'm open for more of that, right? So think about your frequency with money. Play with it. Obviously, if this is something that you feel like you are struggling with and all you want is that feeling of like, when you have to when you have to pay your bills, when you have to pay taxes, when you have to look at your bank account, like there's just a neutral feeling in your body. If that is something that you desire, I have a masterclass coming out on October 20th. It is called Money Boothing, and it is self-led, and it is pre-recorded, and all you do is buy it, and you can listen to it as many times as you want. And it'll change your frequency with money. So if this is something you're interested in, make sure that you're following along on my Instagram, Danielle_on_the_daily. And if you have ever wanted to work with me and feel like for whatever reason you haven't, you can always go to Apple Podcasts, go to my podcast and give us a 5-star rating and write us a review. Screenshot it before you submit it. Send it to my team, hey@DanielleMcCleary.com. And we would be happy to give you a discount off of any single one of my services and products. With that, I will see you next week. Love ya.